My Shy report this week is on Australia being a good neighbour. And the reason I wanted to talk about with this is because I've actually just come back from East Timor, where I spent a few days travelling around this country that is so close to where we are with Save the Children, the charity that does so much good work, supporting vulnerable children in some really hard places, not just around the Asia Pacific region, but also around the world. I was lucky enough to go and see a number of the programs that Save the Children are involved with, as well as a number of other charities that fund programs and run programs in East Timor. Now, just in case you don't know, you get to East Timor by flying out of Darwin. So you get to Darwin, and then it's only an hour and 20-minute flight from Darwin to Dili, the East Timor capital. And even though it's only an hour and 20 minutes, it feels like a world away. It is a very, very poor country, and a very new country. Since finally getting their proper independence, they've been having to build a democracy, infrastructure of government, infrastructure for schools, and all of the social infrastructure that comes with those things. And it's a country that needs a lot of help. And it's right on our doorstep, one of our closest neighbours. But the thing that really hit home to me was the kids. Over 50% of children in East Timor suffer from stunting because of malnutrition. One of the highest rates of stunting in the world, simply because these children don't have access to good food and to enough food. And as a result of this, a number of the Australian-based charities run programs where they feed kids, where they teach families how to cook good food, how to access good food, and how to get the most nutrition into their children's bellies. And there's one program in particular that is run in the schools where they hand out peanuts, literally bowls of peanuts, because it's one of the most simplest and easiest ways to get protein into these kids' tummies. And we're at one of these schools, surrounded by all these gorgeous young kids, handing out the peanuts. And the whole room fell silent except for this crunch, 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 because the kids are so hungry. They're just eating the peanuts. They're not talking, they're not laughing, they're just chowing down on the nuts. That is how hungry they were. And when we finished handing out the peanuts, the director of the program turned to me and said, "That's it, that's our last distribution." And when I pressed for what that meant, I discovered that this program that had been funded by the Australian government has ended. We were there on its very last day because the Australian government has not given any more funding. It costs $1.5 million to get these peanuts into these schools and into the kids' bellies. $1.5 million. It's peanuts. And the Australian government has cut the funding and won't extend it. I just feel sick about this. Now, I know that some people are going to say, oh, well, Australian taxpayer money should be spent on Australians. Can't we do both? We hear a lot of politicians and a lot of defence experts talking about how we need to be more engaged in our region, and we need regional diplomacy, and we need security and strategic analysis to make sure we keep our region safe and stable. Imagine if we spent $1.5 million of that type of commitment feeding starving kids in East Timor. If you really want to help Australia's relationship with our neighbours, let's start with helping feed their kids. Let's help stop starving children from being stunted in their growth. For $1.5 million, we can put peanuts in the hands of the future of East Timor. If you feel as sick about this as I do, that a wealthy country like Australia can't cough up $1.5 million to continue an aid program that is about saving children from being malnourished and starving, get on the email. Send an email to the Foreign Minister. Send an email to the Prime Minister. Get on the phone and call your local Member of Parliament, because we should be both doing what we can to support those in need here in Australia, and we can afford to be being a good neighbour too. These kids in East Timor, they deserve better, and the least we can do is fund some peanuts.